The case of a Malaysian diplomat facing criminal charges in New Zealand has become a political issue. Foreign Minister Murray McCulley is being criticised for his handling of the situation, and the government is taking heat for being slow to act. International Relations Professor Robert Patman joins us to shed some light on the issue. Good evening.
Good evening, Rebecca.
Tell us briefly how this all began.
On the 9th of May, a young New Zealand woman, Tanya Billingsley, was the victim of an alleged sexual crime by a diplomat from Malaysia. His name is Mohammed, sorry, it's gone right out, Mohammed Rizalman. And on the 10th of May, he faced legal proceedings following the police's detention of him. But it would appear that by the 22nd of May, under diplomatic immunity that all diplomats have, he was able to leave the country. And then it all went quiet. And then at the end of June, the Herald ran a story, 29th of June, revealing that this person who carried out this alleged sexual crime had been allowed to leave the country under the terms of diplomatic immunity. And of course, that led to quite a big story.
Where is that diplomat now?
He's back in Malaysia, undergoing psychiatric tests, but the Malaysian government have subsequently said they have no objection to waiving his diplomatic immunity and him returning to New Zealand, although it looks like there's no time set yet for his return.
Is he likely to come back here and face charges, do you think?
If we are to believe what the Malaysian government said, yes. The Malaysian Foreign Minister was very strong. He said diplomatic immunity was not immunity from crimes committed like those that are alleged occurred. And, you know, in that sense, it is every possibility it could happen.
Prime Minister John Key wanted him brought back to New Zealand.
Well, this is where the controversy begins, because Mr Key and the Foreign Minister, Murray McCulley, and indeed the Chief Executive of MFAP all said that they seemed to be unaware of the fact that he had left the country, which is an extraordinary claim to make, given the fact that the two governments were in discussions around between the 10th of May and the 12th of May on how to handle this situation. The New Zealand government, Mr Key said, he always wanted the individual to be brought to justice in a New Zealand court. But somehow, despite that wish, he was allowed to leave the country. Now, the argument, the counter-argument is, well, the Malaysians simply turned down the New Zealand request and insisted that diplomatic immunity maintained. But if that was the case, on the 22nd of May, when he left the country under the terms of diplomatic immunity, you would have thought the New Zealand government would have gone public and saying, well, we actually would prefer the Malaysian government to return this individual, and start putting pressure on the Malaysian government.
Who will suffer most from this politically?
Very difficult to say. I think politicians in general do not come out of this well. One of the key lessons, I think, for this in a democracy, ultimately, I think it's more damaging to try and evade responsibility rather than accept it. It seems to me that the government did drop the ball over this episode, and they should stop blaming public officials. One of the crucial things to remember here is that Mr McCulley and Mr Key, they have formal political responsibility for framing this country's foreign policy over such episodes as this. And so they have to say, where were they when this incident occurred, rather than blame officials who cannot answer back without losing their job. So I think it would be nice to say it's all down to Mr McCulley. I don't think that's necessarily true. For example, one of his predecessors as Foreign Minister, Mr Peters, did a similar, he blamed his officials when he blatantly learned that New Zealand planes were flying Australian troops to Iraq. So this is not a new thing, but I think you know, it will hurt the government in the election run-up.
Professor of International Relations, Robert Patman, thanks for your time.